another episode of ANN Late Nite-ish. I am your host, Mweyna Mpundu.
And I'm Kenia Reyes. And these are going to be the 5 points of the day. Today we had new elected officials. Amongst them, we also had the secretary of the General Conference, who is Erton Keller. He was already there,
Yes.
but he has been re-elected as the secretary of the General Conference. We also have
Elder Paul Douglas, who was also re-elected back into office as the treasurer of the church. How exciting. On
Yes.
top of that, we also had some more people who were elected earlier this morning. This was earlier in today.
Yes.
We had the vice presidents of the
Yes.
General Conference.
We did, starting with, most of them, right, were re-elected.
Correct.
Such as Guillermo Biaggi, who was re-elected, and someone who's very special to us.
Who is our the vice president that is directly involved with youth ministries, Pastor Abna de los Santos.
Yes, we also had Thomas L. Lemon, who was re-elected.
Yes, and Jeffrey Mweyna, also re-elected, as well as Arthur Steele.
Yes, and then we had two new vice presidents. We have Audrey Anderson and Maurice Valentine. Audrey Anderson comes from
the Trans-European Division, and Maurice is coming from the North American Division.
Now, the nominating committee just came out just a few minutes before we came on live.
Correct.
And we have the following positions that were elected. We have the secretariats.
Well, before you go on, these are the new positions that were added.
Yes.
The rest were incumbents that were still there. So now we're going to mention the new positions the new people that were added into the teams.
Yes, a lot of them did come back and were reelected, but amongst the ones that are new to the team, Associate Secretary Saul Samuel, who is currently, up until this point, the Southern Asia Pacific Division president. He will be now a new associate secretary.
Correct. And to the treasury team, we have the new added associate treasurer, Josue Pierre, who was working in the legal department of the General Conference before, and another associate treasurer in charge of tech operations, Richard Stevenson.
Now, moving on to department directors, which we just saw.
Correct.
For a lot of you who are keeping up with what's happening here at session, then you know that these names were just brought out. And there was some discussion about whether or not we were sending those back to the nominating committee. There was a lot of conversation about representation, whether or not there was enough women who were voted in as departmental directors. But a lot of them were re-elected. But we will be giving you the new elected officials for the different departments. And in chaplaincy, we have Ivan Umanya, who will be the new director of chaplaincy ministries.
For children's ministry, we have Othea Sharon, who will be the director for children's ministries here at the General Conference.
Also, for the ministerial department, we have Ramon Canals, who was originally in Sabbath school, but now he will be moving on to ministerial, and his associate secretary will be Aurora Canals.
For Sabbath school, we have a new person coming in. We have James Howard. He will be the director of Sabbath school and personal ministries. And finally, we have big news for us, for you guys,
for everybody.
That directly affects Kenia and myself, because we have a new boss officially for the youth department of the General Conference. We have Pastor. Are you ready for it?
Okay.
Never mind. There we go. We have Pastor Busi Kumalo, who is joining us from the Southern Indian Ocean Division. How exciting is that? Someone we have worked with on the division team will be joining us here at the General Conference.
And we know that that was a big conversation we were having with young people on social media. They had a lot of questions. Who was going to take over the position that was left vacant by Pastor Gary Blanchard? And now we have an answer, Pastor Busi Kumalo, and we will be having that conversation with him here on ANN Late Nite-ish. So make sure that you come back on Thursday to watch us have that conversation with him, to see where his head is at, how he feels in this moment, and what he is envisioning already for the future of the youth department.
Correct. And at that moment, we'll also be joined with whoever will be appointed as the associate director for the department as well.
Definitely true. But
Yes.
Mweyna,
Back to the other
I know,
news topics
because
that
we had
at the
the
top.
5 points.
Yes.
So what did we do today?
What else did we do today? There were a lot of things that happened. This morning, we also had the secretary and treasury reports that were given, voted, and accepted by the delegates.
Yes, and also these are in your 5 points. I know that we just gave a list of names
Yes.
that maybe kind of threw us in for a loop. But the third point of the day is an amendment regarding pastor and other church employees. The goal of this amendment was for pastors to empower local church leadership and explains the role of conference leadership. The amendment generated a lot of discussion around gendered language that was included, as well as issues regarding job descriptions. Comments lasted longer than other discussions so far this week and included a lot of emotion from people wanting to see more inclusion of women and those who believe the language was accurate and appropriate as is. This was sent back to the committee after all the comments for review.
Correct. Our fourth point for the day was that we have heard that there were some technical issues with voting. Someone from the Inter-European Division came to the mic and expressed his frustration with the technical issues that have raised during the voting process. He stated that his fear was what might this mean in terms of representation.
And lastly, what just happened just a few minutes ago is that the departmental nominees came in, report was received, and there was a motion for the report to go back to the committee, but it did not go through, and they moved forward to a vote. And well, that's how we got all the departmental directors that were just elected and reelected. And those were, Mweyna, the 5 points.
What
of
a
the day.
Busy day. A lot happened today, but we have new people. We encourage you all to pray over those names, pray for the people, their families, as they go on to do the work of God with the church.
Definitely.
Right now, we have a package of activities that we did today.
Yes.
We spotted some of delegates walking around, some young delegates, some youth delegates that are represented here at the General Conference. So we would like for you to watch that now.
We're here with Daynell from the Trans-European Division.
I'm here with Anthony Bozeman, who is a General Conference delegate.
We're here with Michael, who is a delegate for the General Conference. I'm here with Sadith, who is a delegate, a youth delegate from the Inter-American Division, with Karen from the Inter-America Division.
I'm here with Timothy from the North American Division.
We just want to know, how did it feel when you were informed that you were chosen as a delegate?
At first I was quite excited. I'm a very enthusiastic person, so I was like, oh my days, yay, they're asking young people, this is really great, this is really progressive. But I think as well I was shocked, it's like, oh okay, because I'm here in my local church, it's not like, like, oh wow, how do they choose people, who chose me, how does the process work? So I was surprised as well, but super excited on the whole. Yeah.
Oh, it's great. I work at Andrews University, so I'm representing the university as one of the faculty, and it's really a privilege to be here at the General Conference.
Emocionada porque ser parte de este momento, de las sesiones, es muy agradable y es un privilegio estar aquí.
Fue una sorpresa muy grande porque tengo 21 años, entonces muchos me toman como inexperta o muy pequeña, pero fue una emoción muy grande porque los jóvenes también tenemos que ser escuchados dentro de la iglesia.
It was an honor. It was cool. I got informed by our president, Dr. Luxton, and I didn't really know what to expect. I'd been to GT sessions before, but obviously was never a delegate, and so, but it was an honor.
Probably the most surprising thing for me was, I guess, the opportunity to be a part of what our church, World Church, is doing. I was definitely kind of taken aback at first because I thought, like, what do they want with a guy like me? I'm just a young guy doing my thing in my church. But I think the most surprising thing coming here is just seeing how the world just kind of comes together, how all of us are here with the same mission, same purpose. And so getting to meet different people during the meals and just interacting and talking, it's been pretty surprising for me.
What has been one of your biggest surprises about being a delegate? Anything that was shocking, you didn't think would happen?
Yeah, just running into all the names you used to seeing, the people you see on TV, right? Just running into them places. And it's been really cool just seeing people from all over the world here at the GC.
La importancia de las reuniones, todo lo que deciden a la hora de votar, los nombramientos, ver la estructura de la iglesia me sorprende mucho.
I think it's just understanding just how many processes and steps that go into actually, get into this GC, whether it's the agenda. For example, this morning I learned about the different divisions and unions and subcommittees that he actually has to go through to make it on the agenda as an item. So for me, it's just learning the behind the scenes process has been eye-opening. And definitely I appreciate the process a bit more now that I know and understand it a bit better.
How many steps have you taken?
Ooh, I could probably look on my watch and tell you, but that would be awkward for the video.
No, you can do it. You can definitely do it.
All right, well, we're going to do it. Let's see here. Okay, fitness. I do know how to work an Apple Watch. I'm a millennial. Okay. I won't let our millennials down. So today I've taken 5,156.
Y yo diría que alrededor como unas 20 cuadras, decimos en Colombia. Y es ida y vuelta al hotel, al almuerzo y a la cena, y volver otra vez aquí en la noche.
So yesterday, almost 10,000. Today, maybe not as much. I've been sitting a lot more today. So, yeah, a lot of steps.
Yo creo que como unos 10,000 pasos, sí, es que soy muy curiosa, entonces ya he andado arriba, abajo y siempre con mis tacones, así que solo Dios sabe.
Okay, and lastly, what time did you wake up and what time did you go to sleep?
I think last night I went to bed quite early actually. Okay. I think it was around after 9, but this morning I woke up at around 4 o'clock this time. It's 5 hours behind UK time, so still adjusting, but yeah.
Bueno, en los días es tipo 6, 7 de la mañana y empiezan las reuniones y por ahí 9, 10 de la noche es que uno termina las reuniones y se puede dirigir al hotel.
I set my alarm for 7 a.m. I wake up a little bit before it, but I don't get out of bed till a little bit after it. So, 7:30. I go to bed, it depends on the day. 10, 11, sometimes a little later, 12. Depends on the day.
I'm usually a morning person in general, so that's been pretty normal. Last night, though, I did sleep a little bit later. I had to get the workout in, so slept closer to midnight and then woke up at around 6:30, 7 o'clock. Had my morning coffee. So.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Timothy, for joining us. How fun was that, Kenya?
That was today. Today was a good time, and clearly the good times, they keep on
going.
rolling. They just keep going. Thank you for that grand entrance. We'll introduce you
Right on time,
in
right?
just a second.
This is what happens when you have people in the delegates coming in. So many things, all the things.
And that's why we were catching the delegates. As you saw, we were trying to catch them in the middle of meetings, right, Mweyna? We were trying to scout them out, find
in
them.
the middle of lunch.
And as you can see, they've been walking around a lot of steps. And there's just so many fun stories that they have to tell us. So we had a great time talking to them. But now we are joined by 2 delegates here as well.
Yes.
Now, who are we joined by?
We are joined by the lovely Lorraine Roberts from the South Pacific Division. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
We're so excited. And we're also joined with the breathless Anthony Stanier from the Southern Asia Pacific Division. Thank you for joining us, Anthony.
Thank you for joining us.
I had no choice. I was running down.
All right. Well, we have some questions for you, and we're going to start with Lorraine with this question so you can catch your breath a little bit.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Well, as we mentioned, these are 2 of our young adult delegates who are here. They're on the floor. They're voting. They're listening. They're taking an active part in their church. And so the first question that I have for you, Lorraine, is this 2 days as a delegate, and what a whirlwind it's been, right?
Wild.
Just reporting on it feels super wild.
Yeah.
So I want to know, how would you describe these first 2 days as a delegate?
All right. I'd say all right food. Like I always start with the food.
Okay.
Good point.
Right?
Yeah. Start there.
Lots of people. I can't actually imagine that, like, usually it's bigger than this.
Yes.
I'm like,
the booths.
yeah, and imagine those lines, like people coming to the mic. Mercy. Yeah, like lots of people, good food. And I'd say a bit of a whirlwind, right? Like, as someone who's new to the GC, not really sure about the processes and that kind of thing, it's just been a bit of a whirlwind. But I think in another aspect of it, it's actually just reminded me that, like, the church doesn't revolve around me. Like, it kind of burst my bubble a bit. Because, yeah, we're a worldwide church. We do things differently in different parts of the world, and people have different opinions and different cultures and different experiences. And it's just like, oh, okay, you guys just happen to do things this way in your particular division, but other people do it differently. And I'm kind of trying to take an attitude of seeking to understand rather than just step into my cancel culture. So yeah, I think that's how I'd say like the first 2 days have been whirlwind, but also it's given me time to reflect on what it means to be part of a world church. Yeah.
That's so good that you're also taking that stance of maybe not just setting into what you believe or what you think is correct, but giving a little bit of grace and realizing that we are such a global church. There's so many people from different cultures, races, places. I mean, Lorraine, you're coming all the way from Australia. Like
by way of Zimbabwe.
Sorry.
Yes.
Okay. By way of Zimbabwe.
Watching,
Yeah,
they
they
did
do
tell
that.
us.
Let's do it correctly, guys.
They did tell us to find more of people from Zimbabwe.
Yes,
They did
they
say
did.
it. So yeah, so this is it's so good that you're taking it that way. Now, Anthony, how about you and your 2 days as a delegate?
Where am I?
That's how it feels.
Yes, where am I? This I've been to several general conference sessions in my lifetime. I'm not that old, but in my lifetime, being a son of a pastor, so you kind of get used to it in a sense.
Okay.
But this is the first time that I am a delegate.
Got it.
So it's the first time for me to actually think about what's being talked about. Before it's all like, oh, I'm just there because my dad's there, or I'm just there because the youth department dragged me along, and so I get the free ride. But now it's I have a responsibility now.
Yes.
And I've been juggling that with work and work, and then delegate work, and then other things like this. But I mean, through it all, I know that there's a reason why I'm here, and so I don't look at it as some type of burden on myself going the extra mile. Because I know that what happens here, the discussions that we're part of, it matters to the people abroad, around the world. And it's good to let our church members know that it's not just a local thing. It's not just revolving around me, right?
Yeah.
We're doing this together. We might have some disagreements, like you were there,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, we're all part of God's family, and we have the love of Jesus Christ in our hearts.
I think on the first day of ANN In Depth, Sam mentioned that we need to be able to struggle together.
Yeah.
And struggle with the word together.
Correct.
So I think that's what we're doing here. You both mentioned that you do different things in your church level. Anthony talked about working a little more closely, while you talked about being more part of your local church. If you could explain to us more in depth of how that relationship with your local church looks like. We'll start with Anthony.
Well, I really don't have a local. I have a local church, but if I call that my local church, I haven't been there in like years. My mom still goes to that church, but I mean, ever since I started working for the church at the division level, it's been more of come to a different church every single weekend. Though I do have a couple of kids and we do attend a church, I don't really consider that as my home church. Right? So it's just a little bit different, but I know we all need a community. And so I'm happy that at the division, we have these little small groups, family groups that we meet with each other during the week. And that's what keeps me solid, at least within my faith. And my mini church, of course, is my family, of course. But I do miss having a church, where I could just go there every single week and everything can be normal. You know what I mean? Like there's a sequence to things, but I've gotten used to this. But of course I have to take that extra initiative, right? To meet, to talk with people, to share my life with people, and of course, learn from other people.
Absolutely. I think, my local church situation is also a bit different. So I got married in lockdown. So, then moved to a different church because I moved from my parents and, started living with my husband. And so I started growing a relationship with a local church online. And that was very interesting. But somehow it worked. So I guess in my current local church, I'm involved in I sing. So, I'm part of the worship, involved in stuff with youth, life group, which I think you called care group. That kind of thing. And I think outside of my local church, I'm on the SPD executive committee. So I'm involved in that and, a little bit here and there with ADRA, in our conference, and a bit things around to do with the youth department in our conference as well.
So church is just different for all of us.
Yeah.
That's true.
yeah. So like, yeah, I guess it's, but I think I like the concept of like, being involved in something on the ground.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because
that's
I
true.
think it keeps me in reality.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So yeah, I think that's
true.
my local church. Shout out to One Turner.
One turn.
One turn. The question, this question came up because Mweyna and I have really been discussing about how there are young people out there who wonder, how can I get here and how can I be a delegate? Because it's not that they're seeing it as something fancy or anything. They just want their voice to be heard. They just want to be a part of these decisions because a lot of these decisions are directly affecting them as well. I mean, we just saw the youth department vote, and that's something that matters to young people. There's so many other departments that also matter to young people. So it's good to see that you are all working in different levels of the church. You're working at your local church, you're working at your division, and Mweyna and we've previously worked for conferences, and so it's important for the young people to get involved, and no matter how small something might be, right? It's equally as important. And I love what you said, that it just keeps you grounded in reality, and it helps forge these relationships.
True.
Now, there is one question, the last question that we want to ask you. In your 2 days of whirlwind, in your 2 days of getting to see how this whole process works, what is one thing that you would change in the process that you think might need some tweaking, that's something that maybe others should consider when preparing for GC sessions? So we'll start with you, Lorraine.
Yeah, sure. I think for me, it's like I'm very young people minded. Like I also work in like young people space, like outside of church. So I'm always thinking about how do we make sure that young people can actually participate meaningfully, not just participate, but like in a way that's actually meaningful. And I think something small, like let's just have a frequently asked questions page on the GC website. If it exists, I'm sorry, I haven't seen it. But just like how is the agenda decided on? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like things like that, just so that people know a lot of different things, and have some sort of context. And I think also someone told me that at previous GCs, like they somehow bring all the different young people from the different divisions and stuff, like, and have them walk on stage or whatever. Obviously that hasn't happened this time, unless I missed it. So it just means that like right now, I don't actually know who the other young people are who are here, who are not in my division. And I think I'm like, if there are young people who've come on their own, like maybe they feel isolated. So like, at the moment I spoke to my our SPD president, shout out to Glenn. And I was like, can you talk to someone? And can we just have an announcement at lunchtime? Like, hey, can the young people just meet at the back? Just so that people are like, oh, I'm also here. I've got a squad. I've got people to ask like some questions. So I think, the young people participation piece for me is something that I would tweak.
Is there a second? I'm just
My boss watching this.
Look at you guys
learning the lingo.
We know the things.
2 days baptism.
So how do we vote?
Now, Tony, same question. What is something that you would change about the process?
Well, I do agree with you. There has to be some type of element. You're right. In the previous sessions, there were times where there would be these executive type meetings where they'd call them all to a boardroom. And this time, I don't think that really happened. So I think something that I would change would probably be if we could revert to what happened in the previous GC sessions. I think just that this GC session was not that it was a rush because of the circumstances at hand like that. But one thing that I would put aside from the focus on young people would be on the focus on different cultures. And I'm not referring to the show that we do once in a while, the program. I'm talking about how we host different people from different parts of the world. And I noticed that, here in America, I grew up in this culture, so I kind of understand how we kind of do our type of hosting, and we try to make it as simple as possible, but yet we forget to include their opinions to how things are run. And I mean, there's a lot more, not that I'm ranting. No. It's not a rant. I'm sorry. It's not a rant. I hope my boss is not watching. It's not a rant. I'm just saying in context to the process, I'm adding more people to the committee that helps plan in terms of context of different cultures. That could be an addition to that.
Yes. And I know that we earlier did have a discussion about the importance of having a more global perspective as to how things are done.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So could you elaborate on one of the issues that you brought up regarding just the voting process, something
yeah.
that maybe is not considered?
Yeah, well, in parts of the world, different companies would create phones in a different way just to bring down the price. And so you could buy in Asia from a particular country, you could buy a particular type of phone. I won't say, I'm not promoting anything. But anyways, that phone is known for being a good price. But the thing is, what they do to have that price, they don't use the latest type of technology. They kind of use maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago, but in maybe a bigger screen. And so when you come here and of course, first world country, you have a certain level of technology, it would be at a higher level or quality of, say, Wi-Fi signal that device cannot accept. And so when I first walked in, being one of the technical people from a division, I always like, Tony, fix my phone. I'm like, oh, so I had to spend a few minutes to understand, oh, wait, it's not your phone. The signal here is not compatible with your device, or your device is not compatible with their signal. And those are things that might have been overlooked technically, but having that knowledge that we can't all afford specific types of phone, again, not promoting anything, that just sends out a signal to me at that moment and to those delegates, oh, I should buy this type of phone. But maybe they won't have that type of funding or finances to acquire that type. And so having that little technical oversight on how we choose to do particular things within our general conference session would be very important to some of our at large, those who are not living here would be more accommodating.
The global perspective is important in these issues. And we thank you both for joining us and sharing with us a bit on how your process has been as being delegates, but also what you would suggest if given the space to those planning session moving forward. And we'd love to hear from you both and giving youth spaces, because we were given a space to speak.
This is true.
I'd like to do the same.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a pleasure to have this conversation with both of you. And I know that next time they ask you to be delegates, you'll be accepting right away. Right? We know it. We know it, because we need your voices. We need all of the young people's voices. Anyone who's watching, make sure that you get involved at your local church in whatever way you can. There's so many ministries that currently the youth departments have that can help you get involved in your churches and to also serve your communities and reach out to other people and share the love of Jesus. And yes,
if you don't know where to reach out, talk to your local pastor, talk to your conference pastors, your division pastors, a pastor that you can find, speak to them and ask them how you can be involved specifically.
Definitely. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Lorraine. We will catch you guys around, and we might stop you again for some Instagram fun and games. And thank you to everyone for joining us once more on ANN Late Night-ish. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.